Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 140. Yes, nice even numbers, 140 of NerdPod Generations. As always, I am one of your illustrious hosts, Steve Taylor, along with the lovely Al Judson. Hello, sir.
Hello, friends and enemies.
I gotta tell you, I don't know if it has anything to do with us having a website now and having our links to different things, but I'm getting a $3.06 deposited into my account from Amazon because somebody bought one or two of my books. I can't remember. I can't remember how much I get per book.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's one or two or something, but I'm getting $3.06.
Nice.
So I know.
Nice. There you go.
I'm blown away. Every now and then I'll get like a quarter or I'll get 50 cents, and I'm getting $3.
That's not nothing.
I know.
That's something.
I'm still making money. Damn it.
Yeah.
But welcome, sir.
How's it going, dude?
Good, man. How are you?
We're hanging in there. We had a fun week. Mary is officially part of the family.
Oh, so
if you
great.
hear any little yips or woofs, that's Mary. Mary is now, all the paperwork is done.
Nice.
He is officially ours.
Nice.
And as with all millennials, we had to make it, I guess it's now Instagram official. It's no longer Facebook official.
I saw that post.
Yeah,
Yes.
so now you can follow Mary and Pippin at silly_hobbitses. If anybody out there wants to join their Instagram and just watch these two just be buddies right now. At this point, they're still figuring out their relationship. Mary is a solid 20 pounds lighter than Pippin.
Yes.
So, there's definitely been a learning curve as far as how we play. It was very funny because Mary egged Pippin into a fight in the backyard, and Pippin outside gets very vocal. And so Pippin is just running at full speed and running pretty much into Mary and then just barking and running past him and then turning around and coming back. And it was just
It's like a joust.
Yeah. So
They're cute.
they're amazing.
They're so cute.
They're just sweethearts.
I love them. But anyway,
Yes.
it's good to see you, man.
It's good to see you too.
I'm excited to do this.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that last episode. I really enjoyed that last episode.
Yeah.
So I get a nice little boost every time we have an episode like that. I didn't, but I got so close. Fall Guy is now available to buy.
I also was tempted by that.
We might need to do that too, because
Yeah.
there's that and the Henry Cavill one.
The ungentlemanly behavior,
Yes,
whatever it is.
that is also available for purchase.
Yeah.
Still no Godzilla -1.
I know.
But we might need to do one of those two and do a review soon
Well,
of one
and
of them.
if we want to, we're sitting at the very end of Memorial Day weekend. Furiosa so far.
I know.
It looks like a swing and a big miss. So maybe we do a watch and review on that and see if that's...
See, but that's the thing, is like I have heard complete opposite reviews of it.
Yeah.
I've heard negative, and I've heard like as positive as I've ever heard reviews of movies.
The review that I saw that stuck with me was Perry Nemiroff said that it was a good movie, but what was most important was that it made Fury Road better, which I read as kind of like, so it's not as good as Fury Road.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting out of that statement is it's not a bad movie. It's not Fury Road.
Yeah.
And so we'll see.
We'll see.
I'm
And
still
I've been
hopeful.
going back and forth on it. Like,
Yeah.
I still think
The hair and makeup still really bugs me. There's a lot of elements of the hair and makeup that I just don't.
Chris Hemsworth's
don't
nose,
like.
I just can't.
Anya Taylor-Joy's wig.
Yeah,
the
that too.
dark-haired wig that they have her wearing for so much of what seems to be the first half of the movie. It's not until she shaves her head that I'm like, there's Furiosa.
Yeah.
Until then, I'm like, what?
But even, I'll look at like different scenes of her, and her features once again are too pretty for this movie. Like they as great an actress as she is, that she just wasn't. I don't think she's right. Now, mind you, I'm saying this by just seeing clips of the movie and not seeing the movie itself, but I just don't buy that she's been living and being raised in this rough and tumble environment, because she has these absolute perfect features.
Well,
and it's like...
The thing about Charlize Theron, because, the immediate thing is that everybody's going to say, well, Charlize Theron is literally a model. Yeah, but you know that the Oscar that she won was for Monster, right? Have you seen?
Which was zero prosthetics. She gained the weight to look like that.
I think she gets more into roles than Anya Taylor-Joy does. I'm not saying Anya Taylor-Joy is a bad actress, but in what I've seen her in, she's always really good. I don't know how deep into the role she gets.
Yes.
So like whether it's Split or The Witch or...
And even The Queen's Gambit, she was just... I think her only direction to that was just be aloof.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Like, she was just aloof. And then she had some really good emotional scenes, but other than that, primarily she didn't
I want to
really...
see the menu. I want to see how she is in the menu.
I finally have seen the menu. I enjoyed it a lot. It's I love Ray Fiennes. So he can read the dictionary and I'll be happy with it. Nicholas Hoult was really good in it. She was great, but she kind of played her Queen's Gambit character a little bit.
She kind of played the character that she plays in a lot of things now.
Which is, once again, using the term aloof. You know, she's like, I'm skeptical, and I'm just going to be like, you need to prove it to me. And
that was her and Emma, too.
See, I never saw Emma.
Yeah, I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw enough to be like, this is the note. This is how things are going to be throughout, which is fine. It's not a knock on anything.
But yeah, I could see in this type of movie.
She's not The Rock, where she's just playing herself.
No.
She is still being an actor.
Yes.
In a lot of ways.
She's not Zendaya.
But they are asking her to just hit this one note over and over again, I think. So we'll see what happens to Furiosa. Neither of us have seen it.
I'm still worried that our next, watch review is going to be Deadpool Wolverine. It's
very possible.
I want to see a lot more leading up to that, but I'm looking at June. It's like,
I know. I'm
so
gone through a week of June.
And then I'm gone the first week of July.
Yeah, so we have to figure out some backlog shows.
Yes.
But definitely, I don't know when we're going to have time to do a watch and review necessarily as part of that. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think the closest we're going to get is doing watch and reviews of, Madam Web, where we trash it and things like that.
I saw it on Netflix. I'll just throw it out there now. Part of my watch, play, read was Bridgerton this week. Kelly was really eager to watch Bridgerton, so I watched it with her, which was very interesting.
Did it make you want to watch Dungeons and Dragons by watching Bridgerton?
I found it really interesting that guy is only in the first season.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the ebb and flow of the show at all. So, I'm looking up the actors, and I'm like, wait a minute. Half these people disappear by halfway through the second season. Yeah. What's happening? So, it's just been very interesting. Anyone who says that women aren't as sexually aroused as men by things has clearly never watched something like this. Hot and heavy.
Fucking 50 Shades of Grey. There was an SNL skit they did. And by the way, we were talking about Regé Jean Paul or Paige. The whole joke SNL did was women sitting on dryers reading 50 Shades of Grey. It's no, there's female porn. Listen, it's just it's not as prevalent as male porn.
Well, and it's different in its form.
Yes.
There's a lot more words and action.
Yes.
As far as I've seen. Whereas a
guy you just show a boobie and we're like, oh.
A sex scene aimed at men is just, take the girls out. That's all the men need.
That's all you need.
So anyway, getting back to a less coarse line of action, when we were watching Bridgerton, Madam Web came up on Netflix, and Kelly was like, why is this here? And I was like, because the world has to torture me.
Yeah.
The world has to serve up this thing and be like, No, to quote my father, I only have so many hours left on this planet. I don't want to devote them to this. This is...
Yeah.
At worst, it's as bad as everybody says it is.
But that's the curiosity I have.
I know.
Because I know it's bad, but I just want to see how bad it is.
It's my fucking brand, dude. My whole fucking thing, you may have noticed this, it's all very Spider-Man related. So the idea that there have been multiple really bad Spider-Man movies, and I'm just not reviewing any of them off of I can't take it, I can't do it. But that's the bread and butter, dude. You could just watch these shitty movies and react to them. And it's but I don't wanna. I don't wanna see what's his nuts play Uncle Ben. I don't want.
Adam Scott.
I don't want to do this, man. Yeah. I don't want to see this version of Ezekiel. I don't want to find out if Silk is anywhere in this movie. All of it's gonna hurt my prayer, man. I always go back to when I was in the Crucible. It hurts my prayer. Mm-hmm. This bad movie, it hurts my prayer, and I don't know if I can do it.
But it's I'm having that same push and pull I had when I saw Morbius.
I know.
Now, mind you, I was lying on my deathbed with COVID when Morbius was on TV, so I was I had nothing else to watch. I'm just gonna fucking watch Morbius.
Yeah.
And
that had Matt Smith in it, so that's something.
And I know, and I love Matt Smith.
Something.
But this, I kind of have that Morbius curiosity where I'm I I gotta know how bad it is.
It's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be terrible.
It's gonna be real bad.
It's gonna be terrible.
The thing that I'm curious about is the famous line of he was with my mom when she died studying spiders in the Amazon. First off, I don't think it's not a good line. I'm not sitting here saying it's a good line. It's not the worst line I've ever heard in a movie. I have heard way worse lines in movies. I don't want to waste my time on it. There's nobody in it that I find captivating or interesting as far as acting goes. There's nothing about the story that makes me think that this is going to work. There's a lot of elements of it that make me think it's going to make me very angry. I will never get over the fact that people were surprised that those shots of the Spider Women in costume
wasn't gonna happen.
Was the only time that they were in costume was in flashbacks or dream sequences or flash forwards or whatever you want to call it, premonitions. Of fucking course, duh. How did you not see? Do you not look at how superhero shit is done?
Yeah.
The costume is maybe the 5th or 6th thing that people care about. For some reason, they care about it when they're promoting the thing.
I think they really promoted it hard because by the time the trailers were coming out, Sydney Sweeney had become a thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait a second, we have Sydney Sweeney in a tight outfit. We need to show that a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, even though it's only that one scene.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was some producer that was like, can we do reshoots to get more shots of her in the costume?
Can we do a nude scene?
It won't make any sense because we don't have her in the costume at all in the entire movie. Yeah, I know, but like, but for the trailer.
Yeah. It sucks. So anyways, folks, this is NerdPod Generations episode 140. So that means there's 139 previous episodes of Pure Gold. So please go back and listen to it. Also, we have an awesome website at nerdpodgen.com. So make sure to go to it. There are links to everything, to our personal stuff, to our YouTube channel, to Spotify, to everything. So you'll be able to find anything you want to know about us at nerdpodgen.com, except for our measurements, which you don't need to know.
No, those I keep very tightly sealed on my phone because I don't like to look at them.
No, me neither.
It makes me sad.
I'm a little too doughboy for that.
No.
So we like to start every episode off, though, with what have we been watching, playing, reading? Would you like me to start this time, sir?
That's up to you. I'll defer. If you want to kick to me, I'll take it.
I got a couple important things I want to talk about. One of them, MCU Journey.
Okay, The Grown.
Which I forgot that we had one more to watch before Endgame. Captain Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Captain Marvel was one of the two with Ant-Man and the Wasp that was in between. So we watched Captain Marvel. I gotta say, I enjoyed it more this time than the last time I watched it.
I agree with that sentiment. I think that it's better the second time. That third act is still just a huge letdown.
The third act's a letdown. Here's the thing. They wrote a lot of that movie, especially the end part, I think for kids, especially with the flirkin, because my son was going nuts
about
the flirkin. He loved, oh my God, it's going to eat people. Oh my God. Like, he's going nuts. And yeah, the third act was a letdown. I was once again completely blown away how you could have terrible de-aging like Coulson. But then the Samuel L. Jackson one,
good.
But no, it's not good in the fact that like it's like they de-aged him to a other universe young Samuel L. Jackson, because we all know what Samuel L. Jackson looked like young because he made movies.
Yeah.
Like anyone that's seen Coming to America, he's the one that robs McDowell's, and we all know what he looks like. So this looks like a younger version of what Samuel L. Jackson looks like now.
Yeah.
But goddamn, it was so good. Like, they did such a great job with it, and it blew me away. I'm like, how could they do such a good job with that and then screw up so much de-aging in every other movie?
I still say they missed a golden opportunity of giving Nick Fury Jerry curls, a la Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I had him look like Jules.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that would have been kind of awesome.
This is what I'm saying. It would have been funny. It would have been something that pissed off all the nerds, so you know Marvel's into it as a concept, just by the mere idea that it's going to make nerds angry and talk on the internet.
But like, that's the thing. I don't think it would have, because they put the Ezekiel speech on his gravestone at the end of Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So it's like they already linked the universes.
Yeah.
It's like, that would have been great.
Yeah.
But it was, it was awesome. I really had a lot of fun watching it. Once again, Brie Larson I thought was fine. Like, I don't know all the hate she gets, because it's like, I don't know if it was what they were looking for her to do or if it was her choice to just be a little dry, but it like I see it now as like, okay, this is just who she is as the character.
Yeah, my issue is that I think it's badly directed, because I think that that's the issue, is that it's a purposeful choice to have her be
I think it was a choice.
insanely aloof.
Yeah.
And which is kind of at odds with how Jude Law's character. I can't remember his fucking name. We'll call him Corell because that sounds like a fucking
I think it's pretty close to that.
So anyway, but you have him being like, "You're too emotional. You're too emotional," and then throughout the entire thing, whenever she's talking, she just has this kind of deadpan, aloof, like, whatever, I don't care, whatever, it's fine, whatever. So I'm like, so is she emotional or does she not care?
Jan Rog.
Not far off.
Yeah, what a name.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think that movie would benefit by having the ultimate weapon used by the accuser at the end of the movie, so that we actually have a decent fight instead of this, like, there's a mental fight with Supremor, which again, I have to say, this is not my favorite version of Supremor. And then you have the kind of, there is a quote unquote fight, but nobody can handle anything Carol delivers, so there's never any, like, even when she's falling out of the sky, you're just like, but she's gonna be fine. And then you have the moment where Jude Law is finally like, you have to fight me because you just need to prove yourself, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, so this is it, this is the whole, okay. And then you throw the Flurkin in at the end with the Tesseract and the clawing the eye. Man, I'm trying to hang my hat on Maria Rambeau and like some of these other elements that I like a lot more.
And that was the thing. Like, I did love the dogfight scene with Rambeau in the early Quinjet, let's call it, because that's pretty much what it was. That was pretty awesome.
That was really good.
Like, you're right. I wish there was more dogfighting things like that, because that was fucking great.
I wish that Lashana Lynch had more to do in the MCU just in general.
Yeah.
I'm glad whenever she shows up for cameos and that kind of stuff. I love that she's binary in this other universe. I think that's great, but like,
you got to think, since that one tanked so bad, I wonder if binary is even going to be a thing anymore.
I don't even know, man.
Yeah.
So like, I definitely liked Captain Marvel more the second time through.
Yes.
But I still just feel like at the end there were a few too many cop-outs where they were like, oh, but we're going to go back to the Aesop's fable of it all, of men telling women that they're too emotional, and we're just going to keep on pushing that button over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if we did this in a Captain America or an Iron Man movie, I would have the exact same complaint of like, so there's just not going to be a fight at the end of the movie?
Yeah.
This is an action movie, right? But there's just not going to be a fight.
There's not going to be a fight.
And then the whole thing with the Skrulls.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the sad thing, because I did like Ben Mendelsohn as the Skrull, but they
they fucked it all up.
I think it's known that we think they've completely fucked up the Skrulls.
Yeah.
So that's just a
we don't
known
need to hash that
quantity.
again.
No.
But this is further confirmation.
Yeah.
That this is not getting any better.
Yeah.
With multiple views, when you go back and you're like, let's see.
Exactly.
No.
So like, and going into it knowing that the Skrulls are fucked up, but once again, I did enjoy Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah.
I thought he was fun in this movie.
I love the moment he has in the morgue where he goes over to the dead Skrull and he kind of just like, it's okay, go find home or whatever he says to it in passing. I was like, okay, I like this moment a lot.
Yeah.
I like this moment a lot.
That was great.
And I like the Kree mind wipe where they take the Kree out and they put in the Skrulls at the beginning of the movie. I thought that was very good too. Very good. So I like this movie a lot more the second time I saw it. I really wish it had a better third act.
The thing that caught me off guard in the third act, when she's having her flashback to when she's younger. Young Carol at 13 was McKenna Grace. I was like, why does she look familiar? Yeah. Oh, Ghostbusters. That's right.
And Minerva is Cersei from The Eternals.
Yes, Gemma Chan. Yep. Which I love. I guess they're like, well, she's green in
blue,
this. So
right?
she's blue,
Nobody's
so
gonna
it doesn't
know.
matter. I kind of agree with you with the Supreme Intelligence. I think the reason I didn't like it is I've never been a big Susan Sarandon fan. Or not Susan Sarandon, Annette Bening.
Yeah.
And so, because Annette Bening, I think, and now this is going to sound very chauvinistic, and I do not mean it that way, her career really took off with Bugsy when she got married to
Warren
Beatty. And I don't want to say that she only got her roles after that because of Warren Beatty, because, American Beauty she was really good in.
She was in L.A. Confidential, wasn't she?
Yeah, but no, yeah,
Wasn't that her?
no, Kim Basinger.
Yeah, it was Kim.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's like anything I've seen her in, I'm like, and like that's why I get confused when I said Susan Sarandon, because I look at them as very similar, but Susan Sarandon being better.
Yeah.
And it's like, but Annette Bening, her delivery is very monotone and very kind of stilted.
Yeah.
And I know as the Supreme Intelligence, it's technically like almost like a computer being or whatnot, so it's not gonna. But it's just her delivery was so monotone. I'm like, I don't.
Well, and they
build
it to be that this is the reason that it takes this form is because it's the form that will be most
of
comforting
Wendy
to
Lawson,
Carol.
which was the.
And I like that. I like that they changed
Skrull.
Philip Lawson to Wendy Lawson.
Creed.
I think that that's a really strong move,
Yeah.
where you have Marvel and you just change it. You just we don't need Philip Lawson. It's Wendy Lawson now.
Yep.
We're all moving on. Cool.
Which I agree
great.
was fine.
Everybody, we all agree this is fine. Nobody is getting butthurt that Marvel and Philip Lawson are just getting papered over. That's fine. Nobody cares about that. I just feel like the Supreme Intelligence, again, it goes back to that whole idea of like they're telling us one thing and then showing us another. And I'm just like, this just doesn't do anything for me. I've also seen better versions of the Supreme Intelligence. So like, this just doesn't do anything for me, man.
I saw this also. I thought about this after the movie as a missed opportunity. If you needed a older, strong female character, get Sigourney Weaver. That ties her into the sci-fi background she has with aliens and being the badass. She loves doing it.
Yeah.
She would have been great.
She's
fucking that. She would have been amazing.
She cameos as not Ripley so often.
Yeah.
Paul. She's the villain in Paul. Even though she's just mostly on the phone and then she shows up at the very end.
Villain and Paul, she's kind of the villain in Cabin in the Woods when she shows up and she's the one running everything. And it's like, dude, I was thinking of all the different, Meryl Streep came to mind and all that, but I'm like, who would have really nailed it because they have a background in this like female-driven sci-fi? It's like, dude, the ultimate female-driven sci-fi is fucking Sigourney Weaver.
I do wish the movie had different directors because, between the issues with some of the look of the movie and some of the story beats of the movie and then some of the acting portrayals in the movie, I just feel like they had these two directors that were indie directors. It was that era when Marvel was like, we don't need big-name directors. We need anybody who's directed a movie that made it into South by Southwest. And then we'll give them quote-unquote control, and then it's actually going to be puppet strings from there. And this was one of those movies that I really felt like, you can see the puppet strings. You can see that you have these directors who don't have like if they have a vision, it's an incredibly boring vision that doesn't take into account what this can be. And then you just have Marvel being like, it'd be funny is having Nick Fury have his eye clawed out by the Flurkin. I got a great idea. I got a Flurkin thing. What's a Flurkin? Oh my god, it's gonna sell so much crap. It's not. There's so much Flurkin stuff in dumps.
And really, going off of what you're saying, if you wanted to make a film with a female action-centric director, you can't tell me they couldn't have found a way to get Catherine Bigelow maybe to do something like that. Somebody that has. I mean, she's freaking won her Oscar because of
she loves the military.
Action. Yes, absolutely. and it's like this is kind of in that wheelhouse. But you're right, and I don't know. I never liked the two director thing. No. It works sometimes. Like
for
works
some things, the Russos do it well.
Yeah, and like the guys that do Stranger Things and the Wachowskis, some of the Wachowskis.
Most of the Coen brother movies are pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty
but
good.
like even with some of them, a lot of it is, and I'm curious if this worked that way. Where a lot with the Coens is they decide who's going to be the main director and who's going to do like second unit stuff.
I often wonder that because
and it's like, do you have two different visions going at the same time? Even though I mean, these two have been collaborating since they were in college. It's like, okay, so they've worked together a lot, but maybe they have different ideas on certain things, and you need that one person saying, I am the final decision.
Well, and if you have two people that are only used to making smaller films, and then they're handed this blockbuster, and they're going to, it's that whole idea of like, I don't need to change how I do things, even though I have more money. That's going to change how my art looks. And it's like, okay, yeah, no, that's true. I can appreciate that. Maybe don't try and do, smaller storytelling here where everything is so nuanced that it seems counterintuitive to what you're being told.
I agree. So that was interesting. Now Endgame is next, so I'll let you know. Hopefully next week. I don't know if we're going to get a chance to watch it. It is a long one, but
you're going to have to sit down 3 different nights.
Yeah. to get that one out.
It's going to be one of those 3-night specials like ABC used to do.
Well, speaking of which, I have one other movie to talk about, and it was quite possibly the greatest breath of fresh air for documentaries that I've seen in a very long time. It is on Netflix, and it is called Butterfly in the Sky.
Oh, is this
It is about reading Rainbow.
Nice.
And watching it, you just have a smile on your face the whole time because you're like, after all these awful, like every documentary is about a murder, a rapist, kids getting molested. It's like all this horrible stuff. And then you're like, oh, there's LeVar Burton and there's all this talk. And they're interviewing the kids that used to do the book reviews who are adults now. And they're showing them the books they've reviewed. And it's like, I feel so good watching this. And it was wonderful. And it was, you know, a lot of it starts off with how LeVar Burton was a no-name student who got offered the Kunta Kinte part after, and it was an 8-part series that bolstered him into superstardom and got him reading Rainbow. And I'm watching it like, it was the only thing that disappoints me is you never hear LeVar Burton's name when people talk about, especially African Americans who have had an impact on the lives of other African Americans, because they're interviewing a lot of these adults now who were kids that were like, I never read. And then I turn on the TV and I see somebody with my skin color reading to me, and all I wanted to do was read. And now they're doctors, and you're like, why do we not hear? Like, LeVar Burton truly is a national treasure. Yeah. And you never hear anything about him.
And he's a humble guy.
Oh, so humble.
He's not like a big guy who's talking about stuff or trying to make news. Yes. He's not even like a pea stew who's still doing acting in various forms and, you know, varieties. It's like the last thing I saw him in was that episode of Picard.
Picard, yeah.
And before that, Community?
Yeah.
As like a guest star,
as himself,
exactly. And so it's like, yeah, he continues to donate all the profits from reading Rainbow to other people, and just like his daughters are really smart.
And he has a podcast which I think is still on. It's LeVar Burton Reads. It's kind of like reading Rainbow, but a podcast.
Yeah, but like I'm so impressed with LeVar Burton as an individual. Yeah. And he's such a gift to humanity.
Well, the part I didn't know about his life is in this, he talks about how prior to going to film school or acting school, he was studying to be a priest.
Oh, all right.
And he decided he didn't want to do that. But then when he got off after Roots, he was on Johnny Carson, and it was before he got offered reading Rainbow, and he even said, you know, Carson said, what do you plan on doing in the future? He goes, well, I want to keep, you know, I kind of want to keep doing TV, but I want to kind of do something like Roots that is educational and entertaining. And it's like,
there you go.
There you go. And you fucking, from 83 to 99, you're on Reading Rainbow, and everyone loves you as this amazing. And it's like, you watch those early ones, and you're like, dude, this was like in 83, 84 when people, the best analogy I had to this is if you think about how even successful African Americans were treated in media back then. You think of shows like The Jeffersons. You know, George Jefferson was super successful, but they made him out to be this like buffoon. And even though he was insanely successful, he was the dumbest one in his family, and he was always doing buffoon things. And then you have this show, and this guy comes out, and he's this young kid, and he's insanely intelligent and well-read, and in the way they made him, you know, he was the role model. Yeah. And I'm watching it like, God damn, why is no one talk about the impact he's had on the lives? Everyone brings up Star Trek, which was amazing, and I love him as Geordi, but the impact he had in the show was fucking unbelievable.
Reading Rainbow is by far the most important thing he's done.
Absolutely. And he would say that too. Yeah.
No, I always loved when I was a kid and you'd be watching Reading Rainbow and you get one of the old ones that's in syndication and you're like, oh, why does it look this way? Well, because this is 1984, baby.
Dude, it was early.
And I just remember one where he still had the big mustache, the big caterpillar mustache, and he's interviewing the Oakland A's after they win the World Series. And he's doing like batting practice with them
for a long goddamn time.
I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, here we go. Really quick, My only LeVar Burton story is he is the one celebrity that I think I ran into in New York City.
Oh, really?
I was leaving work one day. I was walking back to Grand Central Terminal, and I walk past somebody that looks like LeVar Burton, and I just start staring at him. And then he looks at me like, "Why are you staring at me?" And I'm like, "I think that's LeVar Burton." And I just keep going. Like, I don't stop to try. It's just one of those, like...
He was probably waiting for you to say something.
And no, but, like, seriously, he's staring at me like, "Are you gonna... What's going on? Why are you just staring at me, dude?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go. I'm going home."
But see, that's what's funny is that is the impact he has. I would probably be speechless, too. I'd probably stop and go, like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Producer, she said the very first book was I Met Iguanas at the Airport or something like that. It was in the pilot episode. And she said when they went and pitched it to the publishing house, they're like, "Listen, we're going to have this show. You know, we're going to read to kids and we're going to show the book. And you're probably going to sell millions of books. So we want to use this book. We chose it as the first one." And she said the woman's like, "I don't see how this is going to sell books for us." And she's like, luckily someone came to their senses and let us do it.
Yeah.
And people made millions off of this show.
Oh, yeah.
Because their books literally flew off the shelves.
Yeah.
And it's like to think how stupid people... I mean, there are probably people nowadays working in large companies that are just as dumb. But to think, wait a second, I'm going to have my book that I'm not going to have to pay for them to show on national TV for millions of kids, and I don't think it will sell copies.
Warner Discovery.
Yes, thank you very much. There you go. But that was just interesting. I'm like, and the woman, you could just see, she goes, "We were so frustrated." Yeah. We're like, "What do we can't spell it out for you any better than this."
Yeah, no, that's always the way it goes.
But that's my watching this week. I highly recommend this documentary. Anyone, it's on Netflix. It is so good. And once again, it's, especially if you're a kid from the 80s and 90s and you did watch this show, you just literally will smile the entire time.
Yeah.
No.
So on top of Bridgerton,
yes,
I finished the first season of Ted Lasso.
Oh, nice.
Which has been very fun. I really like it. It's just a show about being good. It's just about being good people, and even in the moments where the people have their darkest challenges, they're still genuinely good people at heart. And even when there's conflict, even when there's betrayal, Ted is just such a breath of fresh air as far as just like being an honorable man who looks at the situation around him and doesn't judge it immediately, but kind of has this way of, you know, kung fu style, just kind of like moving through every challenge that comes up to him. And it's just really funny. It's funny, the idea of a Premier League coach who doesn't understand what relegation is. And so it takes like episodes for him to figure out like what relegation is. And meanwhile, he's like, "I hate ties. I hate ties. I hate ties." And it's like, well, the tie might help you if things go a certain way. Why? What's going to happen if we lose? If we lose, we lose. No, not the way it works over here.
Sudeikis is underrated. I love that guy.
Yeah, I love Sudeikis.
He's so great.
I was talking to Kelly. One of my favorite villain roles is a Jason Sudeikis role from a movie Colossal, which was the Kaiju movie with Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
And Dan Stevens.
I remember that one.
And he seems like this really nice guy who owns a bar, and he's very friendly with Anne Hathaway. And you're just like, okay, you know, this guy's maybe a little down on his luck, but he seems like a nice enough guy, and they were friends when they were kids. And then Dan Stevens goes into his house, and all the faces and all the photos are scratched out, and you're like, you gotta get out of this house, man. You gotta get out of this house, dude. So, but that was really fun. I really enjoyed it. They did add more in-game soccer playing as the show went on. That was one of my complaints early on, was that there wasn't actually a lot of soccer being shown in this show about soccer. We do get there, not in a prevalent way, but in a, you know, at least there's episodes where soccer matches have real importance and we get to see them, as opposed to just shots of fans reacting or shots of actual game footage that's being cut in like it's the show itself, when it's a, you know, a game that took place 5 or 6 years ago or whatever. So I do like that aspect of the show. And then buckle up, kids, we're gonna go to Rant City for a hot second.
I like rants.
At Christmas time, Kelly bought me the Guardians of the Galaxy game that came out in 2021. Do you remember this game?
Yes.
So this is a Square Enix game.
Wasn't it the The game that they're supposedly supposed to update it forever, kind of like Destiny.
Oh, is that what it is?
I thought it was supposed to be one of those. The term is not in my brain right now.
I have no idea. All I know is that it's a...
Life as a Service game or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's an interesting game. I don't want to immediately write it off, but there's a lot of interesting things in it. The fact that the canon is kind of this in-between point of MCU proper and the comic books. So we get mentions of the Badoon, and we get a mention of Richard Rider, which is like the easiest way into my heart, is that you're talking about Gamora and her backstory, and Gamora mentions Richard Rider, and you're like, hey, Dick Ryder's here. I love Dick. He's here. What's great? You get the Church of Unified Truth is one of the villains in the game, and you're like, all right, this is some deep cuts. I like this. I like this a lot. There are some tragic gameplay issues with the game itself. The fact that there's a giant set list of 80s rock is great, and I'm not going to criticize that. That's great. The beginning of the game, really good, really emotional stuff. The writing is really good, generally speaking. There's a lot of banter. There's a lot of banter. There's just all the time there's banter. So whenever you're doing literally anything, there's banter. So we're going to get into a situation here, but so the situation is, I find a secret. I'm on like the 3rd level. I find a secret. They keep on hinting and teasing that there are costumes. So I'm like, okay, I want to try and find these costumes. I think there's one at the end of the secret. Going through, and so now all the banter that would be playing has turned into, where'd you go, what you doing, where'd you go, what's going on, where'd you go, what's going on. And then a fight starts, and all the banter becomes, are you okay, you're gonna die, what's happening? Because it's a game where you're supposed to have 5 party members, but instead you're just taking on these 2 basic level monsters with just Peter Quill. Now all the banter is just about that, and it just reads ad nauseum. If you die, even if you save right before that fight, you get spawned at whatever the last checkpoint was.
What?
So now you have to sit through all that banter again.
Oh, that's
rinse, repeat, because the fight mechanics in the game are not good. So it's a live time role play instead of like a turn-based role play. You can only play as Peter Quill. So even though there's all 5 Guardians on your team, you can't play as any of them. They are just support members on your team that you can ask to have do specific moves.
You could do that in X-Men games in the 90s.
This is what I'm saying.
This is
what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
And so there's just tragic decisions all throughout. The fact that I went and did the secret, I think I finally lost my mind after the 20th or 30th time that I tried to do it, because you just need like a cluster bomb or something that any of the other characters would be able to provide for you if they were here with you, but they're not. And so all I have is my guns. And when you're using the guns, they overheat. So you have to like play like, I call it a mini game. It's not really a mini game. It's like you have to hit the meter at the right time, right? So it's like a charge meter. You hold down, your guns are overheating, your guns stop firing. There's a little meter. You have to hit the green spot in the meter and your guns do a big blast, right? I don't want to fucking deal with that while I'm trying to fight these monsters that constantly respawn their shields and then just switch places. There's 2 of them. So I finally figured out, like, if I stay in the corner, I can stay alive. Well, yes, you can, except that as you deplete their shields, they fall back and the other one moves forward. And it just keeps doing that. And you can't do any actual damage to them. There's no auto lock for the targeting system, or if there is, I need to turn it on. The fact that you have to use the Joy-Con sticks to use different moves is a tragically bad decision. Like, just so many moments that I was like, man, this game was like a medium for me, and then this happened and it just ruined the entire experience for me. It just poisoned the whole water hole. Now all the banter is just so obnoxious to listen to. I don't want to listen to any of this banter because I had to listen to the same banter for 40, 50 fucking minutes at a time, trying to do this one secret, which shouldn't be that hard. It's level 3. You haven't introduced anything that makes me think I'm going to be able to come back here when I'm a higher level. So I must be able to do this now. But because your stupid game is so dumb in the way that it's made, all I'm doing is getting frustrated. Oh, here's another thing. If you decide you want to leave because you're like, fuck it, this isn't worth it to me, I'm done, I don't care, let me just go back to what I was doing. Fuck you, you can't. Once you've started the fight, you can't leave the fight. It will continue to respawn you back at the fight, usually under the enemies.
Oh, that's
because
dumb.
it will respawn you at the point where you left the screen, which means the enemies have now chased you to that point, and then it'll spawn you where you were, so the monsters are already on top of you because they've chased you to that point. If you see the way to go forward, no you don't, because it's going to keep respawning you back in the battle until the monsters die.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this shit, man? This shit sucks.
Yeah.
This shit sucks, dude. So, like... It was a tough one.
Well, I was looking up the sales on it, and it is what I remember. It did not do well sales-wise until it was one of those games, kind of like Fallout 76, that the price dropped. I remember seeing it in like the bargain bins for PlayStation and Xbox, and then it went on PS Plus and Game Pass, and then the players went up because it was free.
Yeah,
and it's like, I guess that's something.
It's too early for me to say it's a bad game, but it is terribly frustrating because. For as much as I really like the way that the story crafts both comic book and movie lore in this way that's very satisfying, but also very much allows people that read the comics and enjoy the comics to be like, I love that. That's great. I know what that means. I know what that is. You have things like, so I can't switch characters at all. And
see, that's
nuts. I don't have my characters with me in all situations, and I'm just going to have these 5 guys. I'm not going to get any other members of the Guardians, so I'm not going to get Mantis, and I'm not going to get Bug, and I'm not going to get Adam Warlock, and I'm not going to get Cosmo. What's the plan? Moondragon, Faye Lavelle, any of these characters going to be in the game, or just no? Just no. So, like, am I happy that you made it so that the Novas have helmets and they look like Nova Corps members? I'm thrilled. That's great. Could you get the rest of the game to be halfway decent? Because right now, this is just frustrating shit pile garbage. And I am not a fan of how it's built. After 20 minutes, the banter gets really annoying because it is just constant. It is just constant. So as much as I love having a scene where Quill has a heart-to-heart with Groot about wanting to be able to understand him and how he had a harder time because in this universe he didn't have a universal translator that allowed him to talk to anybody for the first 3 or 4 years he was in space. So he had a hard time and he felt alone. These are great moments, and I love them. Can the rest of the game be half this good? Because the mechanics of the actual game suck.
And that's the problem I think they're having with a lot of modern games is, yes, you're making... There's Hellblade 2, Senua's Sacrifice just came out on Xbox and Game Pass. Visually, everyone is like, you've never seen anything like it, but the gameplay sucks.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what's happening with modern games is they're focused so much, and this is why I give Nintendo credit. Their games might not look great, but usually they're fun to play.
They feel fun to play.
Where the modern games look great and they might run great, but the gameplay is
That's why I'm always so surprised that in Odyssey you can't turn off motion control. And just play without motion control.
Well, that makes Nintendo loves to force you to do.
That fucking makes me so crazy.
Yeah.
That makes me so fucking crazy.
Yeah. They like to force you to do that shit, which is annoying as fuck.
Before I rage quit on Guardians yesterday, the last time I had rage quit a game was Mario Odyssey when I was playing it with my wife. Because my wife was playing as Cappy and I was playing as Mario. And so she just got to go around and collect things and do stuff. And meanwhile, I'm wrestling with these motion controls. And I'm just like, you got it. I can't fucking take it.
Yeah.
I can't do this. There's no reason for this. There's no necessity for this. There's so many buttons that aren't being used on this controller.
And the weird thing is you think they would have learned with the end of the Wii's life cycle because they really forced it on that and the DS. Like the 2 Zelda games on the DS, Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass. They forced you to use touch controls, and I never played them because I started playing, I think, Phantom Hourglass, and you had to use the stylus to draw. I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I want to use buttons.
Well, and it's like the 3DS game, not Link to the Past.
Link Between Worlds?
Link Between Worlds, where I love that game.
It's a great game.
It's a great game. I hate how much the 3D plays into just how the game plays. Where it just like if you don't have the 3D on, then it's very hard to tell the depth of things because they didn't shadow things correctly because they assumed you were going to have the 3D on. And it's like...
And then they sell the 2DS. It's like, well, that don't work!
You stupid motherfucker!
They love their gimmicks, man.
Yeah.
Nintendo love their gimmicks.
Yeah. So I did just want to really quick before we move on.
Yes.
I did just want to touch on Beetlejuice, or Beetlejuice 2, as it's listed online, because they're scaredy cats and they don't trust the internet, not to say it 3 times. So Beetlejuice, the trailer 2 came out. I think we both agree this is a welcome look.
Yes. The more I'm thinking about it, though, and looking at some things, it's great because I think my biggest concern is, okay, how is Michael Keaton at his age gonna pull off, like, how is he gonna be as Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
And the scenes where he is, I love them. I thought that's awesome.
Yeah.
The 2 things that I'm not blown away with yet, and that I'm hoping is not a concern, is sequels to kind of obscure movies that become fan favorites. They throw bigger, well-known casts into it. So I don't know about the whole Willem Dafoe, Monica Bellucci thing. I'm like...
Justin Trudeau is in the...
Justin Trudeau, yeah, he's kind of a...
He's a middle, but, like, he's that guy that you put in a movie when you don't know what white guy to use.
Exactly, and you throw him in there. So I don't know about them, and then I kind of mentioned this to you with the shrunken head guy, but then also when Beetlejuice scares Justin Theroux and opens his face like he did in the first one. I don't like when you have a sequel and it's like, okay, we need to put in shit we did in the first one so everyone knows that it's this movie. It's like, dude, just having Beetlejuice and Lydia in the movie, you know it's the first one. You don't need to redo some of the gags. And I hope this movie doesn't turn into, because that's kind of what Zoolander 2, and that thing failed miserably because they tried to just redo the gags, and it's like...
Anchorman 2 did the same thing.
Anchorman 2, exactly. And it's not as good.
You just do the gags all over again. It turns into a Family Guy episode.
Yeah.
Where it's just cutaways and gags, and you're like, okay.
And it's the same gags.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to see the same gags. Yeah. I love that first movie, and I love the gags in it. Show me new shit.
Yeah.
But once again, it's just a trailer, and like you said, there's a lot to like about it.
Yeah. My thing is that I like the look of it. I'm a little concerned that some of the CGI, we were talking about this before the show, I'm a little concerned that some of the CGI looks bad. Now, some of the CGI looks like it's dated, which isn't necessarily bad CGI. It's just that they have kind of backtraced the CGI to make it look like the CGI from the 90s on like the Worm Planet and whatnot. There were some shots in passing here that I saw that I was like, I hope that that's just like a first draft CGI and that they're going to tune it up, because some of this CGI is not good. And as much as I appreciate the idea of trying to make it look exactly like the first one, focus on practical then. I think my answer to you would be focus on practical. I'm also a little surprised that Gina Davis is nowhere in this trailer.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, is her and Alec Baldwin going to be like a...
They're not here anymore.
Well, now here's the only thing of
See, I
why
get that
I
for
don't
Alec
think
Baldwin.
they're in.
I'm just surprised Gina Davis isn't here.
Well, the only thing is he can hide his aging in real life under the makeup. The two of them can't. And how are you going to show, like, why are ghosts aging?
Well, Steve...
I know, but I know they could do the de-aging.
They're going to de-age the Stranger Things kids.
They are, yes. But it's like, that's the only thing I can think of why they're not in it. But I thought that too. I'm like, you would think they would at least...
You would think that should be in here.
Yeah.
Like, Alec Baldwin, I get why he's not here. Right? That makes sense.
Well, I'm wondering if this thing was being filmed, like, before the whole Rust thing came through. Because that's only been about a year.
You think so?
I don't know.
Yeah, because I figured it was done after. So...
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough
anyway.
to say. I mean, we all know why Jeffrey Jones is not in it.
Yeah, well, they make a point of that in the plot.
Oh, they make a big point of that. He fucking died.
That's the opening thing.
Yeah.
Guess who's dead?
He's in the bad part of the afterlife,
too.
Yeah.
Is there going to be an Egon special where we see, what's his name in Ferris Bueller? Mooney. Are we going to have a Professor Mooney Egon special?
Yeah, I don't...
Where he comes back and he doesn't have any lines, but he just kind of smiles fondly.
See, when you think he's smiling, you're like, is he thinking about naked children? So, like, you can't even have him smiling fondly.
This is something that I was not aware of. Okay, that's
you didn't know Jeffrey Jones? That's where he was caught with child pornography. That's why his career ended.
Didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yes, that's why his career ended, man.
I see. Yeah, that would do it.
It was during that time where it was like him and, who's the guy from The Who?
Roger Daughtry?
No, the guitarist. Why can't I think of his name? Peter Townsend.
Yes.
He had the similar thing where they're like, no, it was artistic. It's like, you have like thousands of pictures of like naked kids. I don't think that's artistic.
The Paul Rubens of it all.
Well, Paul Rubin was just jerking off in a like everyone does. At that time, they would go to a nudie theater and jerk off, and it's
But he also had quote unquote vintage porn.
Oh, well, that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
And there were some.
Yeah.
They weren't really strict on age.
No.
Just ask Tracy Lords when she was 16, I think.
Yeah.
No, 15. Doing some of the porn.
So, but on a lighter note, I think Beetlejuice looks fun. Beetlejuice, excuse me, looks fun. Now I've done it. Now I've gone and done it.
It does look fun.
But mostly I'm excited for Michael Keaton in this movie. I think Winona Ryder is going to be fun. I think Catherine O'Hara. It's Catherine O'Hara in this,
yes,
right? I think, she's going to be... It'll be interesting to see her. It's interesting to see her and Winona Ryder go from mother and daughter to looking like they're almost like sisters, just because Catherine O'Hara hasn't aged that much.
No.
She still looks very...
Delia, that was her name, I think, yeah.
But I'm curious about Jenna Ortega. She's a very good actress. I like her. Whenever I see her and stuff, I'm always impressed. But I'm coming to this for Michael Keaton, and I really hope that this doesn't get lost in the sauce of let's explore the inner workings of the world of the dead and how everything works and how all the pieces come together and all these other things. And that's what I worry this is going to turn into, is let's really get super familiar with the world of the dead. And if you don't land that, but you do go around crunching on canon, that's not great. So we're gonna
see. I'm wondering though, and this could be when they show the funeral. Is it Jeffrey Jones's Charles, who was the father, or is it Glenn Shattuck's Otho, who was the designer, who also died in real life?
Did he?
He's dead. He died in I want to say it was 2010. He was only 58. He was pretty young.
That's sad.
But like, he didn't have a checkered past, so I'm wondering if that will be some kind of like an Egon thing.
I think Jenna Ortega says that they're at Grandpa's funeral.
Oh, she does say, okay.
Yeah. So otherwise, I would agree with you. But
Otho was one of my favorite characters.
He's
in that
really
first
funny.
Movie. He was awesome.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
That's interesting. There were a few other things in the trailer park, but we don't have to talk about Beverly Hills
They do have
Cop
time
4.
Even though I gotta say, well, first off, Beetlejuice is September 6th. Is when it comes out.
The Halloween movie that doesn't come out at Halloween.
I know,
as every year.
It still
makes me crazy.
Stupid as hell.
It makes me crazy.
Let's release a movie that's kind of a kids movie right when the kids go back to school and NFL season starts.
Yeah.
Instead of at Halloween.
At Halloween, when this movie clearly should be coming out at Halloween.
Yeah, fucking dumb. Okay, so I love Beverly Hills Cop. I've talked about it. My 9th birthday present was seeing the first Beverly Hills Cop in the theater. Always have love for that. I really enjoy the second one, even though that kind of gets shit on, but they kept the R rating, and it has its moments. It has some moments. Third one, where he goes to like their version of Disneyland, and I want to say it was PG-13. It wasn't. They didn't go for an R rating because they wanted more people,
more teenagers.
That was during that like Die Hard 4, where they're like, hey, we have R-rated movies, and RoboCop 3, and it's like, let's make them PG-13. Then no one fucking saw it, because the only people that want to see it are the people that saw the R-rated versions.
Although the R-rated version of Die Hard 4
it's fucking awesome.
Quite good.
Oh, it's 1,000 times better than the non-R-rated. But this is R-rated. And that is like, okay.
Yeah.
He has got to drop all the F-bombs. Like, that is Axel Foley. If you, once again, that first scene of the first movie, when I was a kid and I saw it, he says, fuck, like 7 or 8 times in the first 30 seconds. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's gotta have the swearing. It's gotta have the, they never were overly violent, but they kind of pushed the envelope with people getting shot. And it's like, I really hope they push it more like, okay, we understand this is not a kid's movie now, so let's make it an adult comedy.
Yeah.
And I hope they fucking do it.
I'm interested. I've only seen the first Beverly Hills Cop. I liked it. I thought it was good. Judge Reinhardt is just such a weird guy whenever he shows up in anything. I always go back to the Santa Claus, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing here? Why are you... Oh, it's fine. Never mind. It's cool.
Yeah.
Unlike many people who just know him as the jerk-off pirate.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But my thing is just like, I'm not disparaging Eddie Murphy, but I do feel like he phones it in a lot these days.
He does.
So I think that, to me, is going to be the crux of the whole thing. Is this Eddie Murphy really earnestly trying? Or is this Eddie Murphy like in that Christmas movie that came out on Amazon last year?
That thing was terrible.
Or 1,000 Words. or Dave.
Or what was that one with
Norbert.
Jonah Hill?
Are you sure about him or something like
Yes,
that?
yeah,
something like that.
The reason why I have faith in him is reality. This is his flagship. This is what really like shot him into the stratosphere. Is this franchise? He is this character. You can never recast this character. Like, he is Axel Foley, and I'm glad they were going to do a TV show where they have like his son or some younger person played Axel Foley, and he said, "Nah, fuck it." Since this is his baby, I really hope he's putting all the effort into it.
I hope so.
Because I have hope. I have such hope.
He's just got Bruce Willis syndrome. I shouldn't say that.
I know nowadays
that's not good.
I know what you're saying.
He has Bruce Willis. I don't give a fuck.
Like Die Hard 5 was
Die Hard 5, Cop Out, so many surrogates, many fucking Bruce Willis movies where it was just for the paycheck.
Yeah.
And that's been Eddie Murphy to me for a while now.
It has, except for his like arty movies like Dolomite. And like
that's true. I heard Dolomite was really good.
Dreamgirls, he got nominated for an Oscar. He got
angry and stormed off because he didn't win.
Yeah, which he should have fucking won. Which we're not going to get into the Oscar shit.
Did you see the new Coming to America?
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was bad.
It was
so
fucking
that's
terrible.
my concern.
But they didn't do an R rating on it. That's what I'm talking about. You take these. I'm so tired of them taking these R-rated franchises. That's why I'm so happy that Deadpool, which I love that Ryan Reynolds did come out and say he was shocked by how far Disney let them push the R rating. They pretty much pushed it to the edge. That, and if it bodes true, that's what I'm talking about though. Like, because if you remember, they put Deadpool 2 out in that PG-13 version, which was fine.
I find it
wasn't
funny.
Deadpool.
The thing that I found funny about it was just that he reads it to Fred Savage. Like that was Princess Bride.
That was awesome.
That was the funniest element of it.
But the movie itself, with all the stuff taking out, was not the same movie.
No,
not even remotely.
How could it be?
Yeah, exactly.
How could it be?
These are the same type of thing, though. It's like you can't make. Like, I'm happy all the Terminator movies, and you think about it, the one that failed first, really, because the third one actually did well in the theater. Even
it wasn't until people saw it that people were like, I don't know.
Yeah, but at least it was still R-rated and it had violence and it had all the stuff Terminator was. But then when they made Terminator Salvation, which I actually did like.
I just got the director's cut because I really want to watch the director's cut, because Terminator Salvation to me is if the trailer hadn't been fucked,
yes,
this movie might be good.
Yes.
But the trailer fucked itself.
But like the movie, I do love it, but I like the unrated version once again, because the first one they put out was PG-13. Like, I love the gritty look. I thought the CGI of Arnold at the end was incredible when he comes out of the casing as the first Terminator form. But they fucked it up by making, and then it just never picked up, even though the later movies were R, they just couldn't. It's like once you go down that PG-13 rabbit hole, you can't fucking bring it back.
You don't think it was the white hot stardom of Sam Wentworth not going off that doomed that franchise?
I also wonder if the infamous Christian Bale rant on set.
Well, that was the most famous thing about that movie.
And but that came out before the movie did, so I wonder if that like killed it.
It didn't help.
Even though it gave one of the best Family Guy cutaways, because it's that soundbite, but then they intertwine Peter as if he caused it, and then he's trying to talk to Christian Bale about why are you getting so mad, and he's screaming, and it's so perfectly done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really hope Beverly Hills Cop is good, because I do love the franchise and I love Eddie Murphy and I want him to come back to where he was.
Before we move on, I did want to mention, while we're talking about Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds, first off,
the Silence Your Phone thing.
No, I haven't seen that. No,
they filmed. You talk first, and I'll talk.
So, quick shout out to Guardians. Peter Quill has a Dazzler poster in his quarters, which is like, again,
nice.
You guys have so many elements right. I just wish the gameplay didn't suck ass. I saw a list of people that the internet thinks will be cameoing in Deadpool and Wolverine, and one of them that I heard was confirmed by Ryan Reynolds was Rob McElhenney is going to be in it, and nobody knows what he's going to be. So might I propose, now that the movie is done and finished and you can't do this, have Rob McElhenney be Demolition Man, also known as D-Man, who takes a
Yes!
old Daredevil costume and a Wolverine cowl, and he wears that, and he's just a schlub who doesn't have any superpowers, who just really, really, really wants to be a superhero.
I used to have that comic book when the first time Captain America met D-Man.
Yeah.
And they were at the gym and they were lifting, and I was like, as soon as you said D-Man, I went nuts.
No, I'm just saying, if you're going to do Ben Affleck as Daredevil and you're going to have the Wolverine costume, you got a guy who puts those two things together.
That would be awesome.
Just saying.
That would be awesome.
Could be great.
But no, they filmed a silence your phone little thing they show before movies with Wolverine and Deadpool. It's fucking hysterical.
Oh, I'm glad.
It's really, really funny.
I'm sure I'll see it.
That's why I'm hoping that this movie's good. I really want it to be good.
I so badly want it to be good. I just
good.
can't. My heart's not in it this time. You know, like I can't be hopeful about it because every time Disney has a legitimate artist trying to make legitimate art, they ruin it. Every time.
Yes.
Every time. So.
And I just have the utmost faith in Ryan Reynolds, especially when he came out recently and it's been come out to known that he'll never work with The Rock again because The Rock was so unprofessional on Red Notice and he just won't. And it's like to come out and like shit on The Rock, who's one of the biggest stars in the world because you have this ethical code that you stick to. God, I hope he was able to tell Feige to fuck himself. I really do.
Well, we're not fucking doing that.
No.
I just hope I want a list of things that Marvel wanted him to put in the movie that he was like, no, we're not fucking doing that, and we're not fucking doing that, we're not doing that, and we're not doing that.
So
I just want as many TVA agents to get their asses handed to them as possible. Like that, I will cheer for that because I hate Loki as a show. I don't think it's a good show. The TVA fully ruins canon, just point blank, fully ruins canon. I saw someone be like, so how does the TVA feel about Cable? That's a really good question.
Yeah.
That's an excellent question.
Or Bishop? You know damn well there's got to be a joke in there about Kang.
Oh my God.
I don't know if it'll be about beating women. There's got to be something.
There's gonna have to be something.
Like some guy hits a woman and he says, hey, hold on, Kang.
Yeah.
Or says something. You know there's got to be something.
Yeah.
And that's...
I'm not a douchebag. I'm not like Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. All right, folks. We got to move on. We got to talk
it's
Invincible
time.
Season 2.
Yes.
The entire series. Now, luckily for us, we have a lot to talk about, but it's only 8 episodes.
Yes.
So it's not a super long series. Even though it was split into 2 different parts, it is 8 episodes, a nice tight 8 episodes. Invincible Season 1,
yes,
truly loved it. Not perfect, but great.
It will forever be the show that I find frustrating because it has moments that I've wanted for my superhero stuff that nobody else is doing, and then they do it here. And I'm like, God damn it. I thought that was mine. The guy that's not Batman. I guess the guy who's not Robin pretending to be not Batman.
Yes.
Who can move through shadows. I was like, God damn it. The fact that towards the end they're trying to, talk their way out of a situation and there's a kaiju attack and they have to go and resolve that. I'm like, God damn it. I wanted to do that for so long. Just the idea of like just monsters just appearing.
Yeah.
And you don't know when, you don't know how, it's just going to happen. And now you got to move and now you got to do this. And as a world, we have to kind of try and figure out how we're going to deal with that as a problem. So it was just like anytime that kind of thing comes up in the show, I'm like, damn it. There goes another one. Fuck.
They're stealing all your ideas.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
Into that brain here. Okay, so the season 1 ended with Omni-Man leaves the planet after it comes out that he's part of this destructive society, just not society, group
culture
of pretty much superheroes that go from planet to planet.
They're anti-Kryptonians.
Yes,
so
that's a good way to say it.
You just have like, what if Kryptonians were all power hungry, crazy, and in love with mustaches?
Yes.
And
they have the belief that, listen, we don't want to kill and destroy everything in the universe, but we want to rule it all because we feel that we are better.
We're the strongest, so we should run everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so all the big fight at the end of season 1, and we start season 2, episode 1. Mark is pretty much dealing with the fallout of everything from season 1, and now
just
he
kind of
is like
cruising
the man now.
Yeah, he's going around still doing superhero stuff, but he doesn't know what the purpose of it is.
Yes.
He's kind of lost in between things. He's trying to figure out what he wants out of this life. And he begins the long and treacherous conversation of the season, which is, what does a superhero need to go to college for? To which I say, Mark, ask for a paycheck.
Yeah.
All your problems would be solved if you just asked for a paycheck. There's a guy here. He can pay you. Just get a paycheck.
Yeah. You get I can't remember, was it the first episode? No, it's okay. So the second episode is the Bang Bang episode. I don't want to say it was kind of a boring episode. It was a setup episode.
Yeah. Well,
so
there's a lot of weird. The pacing on the first half of the season is just a little weird to me, because you have that point in episode 2 where they begin it and they're talking about summer vacation and graduating from high school. And by episode 3, summer vacation's over. But the way that they had set it up, it made it sound like this was going to be like a series of events that we were going to follow. No, not at all. No, don't sweat it, because summer vacation doesn't actually matter, because it's going to be over before you even know it. There's just a few moments like that in general with some of the pacing on the first half of the season. It's not bad, but there's just some moments where I'm like, this could have been paced out a little better.
And I think the thing I had the biggest problem is I really like the Maulers as villains. And they usually are not like a focus. They're just like, okay, we need kind of a throwaway that we can put in to kind of get the story moving. And the whole thing with the Maulers in this first episode is to get Angstrom, who becomes by the end of the series the
kind of
big
overarching
bad
villain. Kind of.
This is not exactly.
It's hard to say that he's the overarching villain because he's only in 3 or 4 episodes.
He's more. How about we say this? He's more the personal villain.
Yeah.
For Mark.
There's a
because
vendetta.
It has the thing where he's gonna spoilers, kill his mother and his brother. And...
so the great thing about Angstrom that I love is that his power is that he can move between universes, but he can only move between points in universe.
Yes.
So he can move to another universe, but it's the exact same point on the planet. And I think that's so fun when he has to break out the Maulers and he has to like find a universe that has a really deep pit so he can walk into their cells and get them out. I thought that was really fun. I love the whole Angstrom idea of like the build of it where we see Mark as a villain in so many universes over the course of the season. And I was like, I really like this.
And Angstrom's really origin story is Mark and his dad have teamed up and they're pretty much killing everybody.
That is like one of the darkest moments for me.
Dude.
Is when he paralyzes Adam Eve. So he can't kill her. He doesn't want to kill her because he doesn't have the heart to. But he also doesn't want her to cause any trouble. So he's just going to break her neck in such a specific way that she can't move anything.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that is so much worse.
Yeah.
It's so much worse.
The alternate reality Mark and Omni-Man are kind of fucked up. Yeah. Like, Omni-Man is on his own is fucked up throughout most of this. So, I mean, he's kind of redeemed in this
We get
series.
to kind of a reconciliation with Omni-Man. So going through the season... Mark's story goes, Mark doesn't know what to do. Mark wants to work for Cecil as part of the government agency. That's not
But then
S.H.I.E.L.D.
he regrets
the level
of control Cecil has over him.
He doesn't like how Cecil has him at beck and call.
Yes.
So then he wants to go to college with his girlfriend and his best friend. And then when he gets to college, he's immediately called away to go to another planet to help with something, which it turns out is Omni-Man's new planet.
Yeah.
He found a new planet full of bugs, and he was like, hey, I don't mind fucking some bugs. I'll fuck a bug. I don't mind. No big. I fucked worse.
See, the part that killed me with the bugs, though, and there was a lot of fucking in this, because I was saying, episode 2, Mark loses virginity to his girlfriend, and it's like, you could have played that off kind of funnier, that he's got these superpowers, and maybe when he's aroused, he doesn't know how to control them.
You want a full Hancock where he's just firing through
the ceiling, something fun like that. But then the whole bug fucking thing, it's like, I guess I didn't love that they have these humanoid bug creatures, but they keep them with like the lifespan of normal bugs.
It was weird. It was challenging. I didn't mind it. The thing that I got stuck on was, why does Mark's brother just look like a normal baby, but it's purple? That doesn't look like a bug at all.
Don't they kind of mention that? Like, I didn't realize when you bang this, it just turns purple.
It was just one of those, like, so it's all bug people. I kind of like the idea that they age quickly. The moment when he's talking to the bug that picks him up, New Alzot, and he's like, so what's going on with these meteors? I don't see any meteors. And New Alzot's like, what meteors?
What meteors?
Like, what do you mean, what meteors? You told me I had to come here because there were meteors and I was going to destroy your planet. Oh, I did say that, didn't I? Yeah, no.
They were fun. Like they were interesting characters.
And that dynamic where the mom is like, you have to take my son because by the time he's even old enough to talk, there will have been like several
Thraxa
generations.
is the planet.
Yeah. So I did like that. I found it interesting. The whole of it is just kind of a hard thing to deal with at times, just because it's one of those things like Harry Potter where you're just shouting at Mark, like, just don't do that. Don't get pulled. No, don't do that. No, you just got to go, man. If you want to have a life, you got to have a life, but you have to be the first person to stick up for it. You can't just be being pulled off into adventures all the time, which is like pretty much the entire thing. Is I think it's episode 5 or 6 is the episode that we jokingly called Mark in Space last week.
Oh,
Mark in Space. But it's like, I do like this a lot. As far as superhero stuff goes, I really enjoy it because it's a different flavor of superhero stuff. It does still fall into that category that I find frustrating, like The Boys does, where it just doesn't make any attempt to be original with certain things. And it's just like, no, this is just the Justice League. This is just, in this case, Martian Manhunter, but like not Martian Manhunter, but he's basically Martian Manhunter.
Seth Rogen?
No, the actual Martian.
Oh, yeah.
His whole thing is shape changing. I like that his name is the Shapesmith. I think that's a great name. He's just the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah. Except I like how they make him kind of dopey.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. So like I do like all of that team. I think the Guardians team is really fun to watch, and kind of the dynamic between them. You have a lot of drama with Monster Girl and not Rex, Rudy.
Yes.
Who's Robot. And so you have a lot of them going back and forth over, like, you have the usual relationship issues of Robot wants to fix her and she doesn't want to be fixed, and the complications of human interactions. And so I do like that a lot.
Why can't I think of the name of the Immortal?
Yeah.
That's the name.
Yeah.
I was like, well, the Immortal superhero. Oh, it's the fucking Immortal.
Yeah.
Him and the Duplicate, that he starts hooking up with her, which pisses off Rex, and it's like that I kind of liked.
Yeah, that was good.
But I loved throughout the series how the Immortal, who has been with thousands of different women, gets so attached to her, and that when she does end up dying, well, he thinks she ends up dying, he's just
that
done.
was great, because like that was, again, you have certain setups that you're like, okay, I see what you're doing. So when they all have to go to space again to solve a problem, because the Martian thing from last season is going to come to Earth and, you know, cause a lot of problems, you have Rex is put in charge of the remaining team, by which I mean he calls shotgun on being in charge of the remaining team. And he openly says, what's gonna happen? There's gonna be 2 world-ending events at the exact same time. And so of course you know something's gonna happen. I like that you have the Lizard League, who are like, I've seen this group of villains in Marvel and DC so many times. It's just the hapless, dumb villains who can't get out of their own way. I'm thinking of like the Firefly, Kite Man. Kite Man's team and Batman, where you have various forms. Kite Man has been in a few different forms of Batman, and it's always stupid. Or you have what are they called? They're not the Lizard League, but they are like the Snake Syndicate or something like that.
It's something like that.
But like in Marvel, and I just love that you have these stupid villains that actually end up being good, to the point where when you're watching that fight scene, you're like, they're not gonna lose, are they?
They might fucking lose.
Oh, okay.
And some of the voice acting, like Walter Goggins as Cecil. And then, once again, Rex, Jason Mantzoukas. I love him as Rex. I love
the turn that he has as Rex, where he has that moment where, because I do love Adam Eve's storyline, because that was one of the
with her parents.
That was one of those ones, especially if you've seen the movie that goes in between the 2 seasons that kind of explores Adam Eve's backstory.
Is really good.
It's very good.
It's very good.
You have her going through the whole, like, there's more I can do for this world, and she tries to do it.
Was it Detroit that she tried to save
Chicago.
that building? Chicago.
Because Chicago was where Omni-Man, or rather, I don't want to say that Omni-Man struck. I want to say it was where Mark didn't leave.
Yes.
Because that's really what happened. Every time I watch that last episode of season 1, I'm like, Mark, go literally anywhere.
Yeah, you're doing a Man of Steel right now.
Literally anywhere. Just don't be here.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it to you, dude. All these people dying, it's on you because you just need to leave the area. So, like, you just gotta go, dude.
Yeah, you gotta fucking
go. So anyway, but Adam Eve is doing her whole outreach thing, and she builds a playground that collapses.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, her dad has lost his job and is
her dad's
spiteful.
a prick.
Oh yeah.
Like that was.
Well, that was the thing.
I don't know if I've ever had a character make me madder than her father in this. They really write him as the ultimate piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't stand that fucking guy.
Yeah, no, he has the whole, in the prequel movie, he has the whole, if you're so gifted, why are you so dumb?
Yeah.
Kind of thing that he does. And so when
And then you find out they're not even her real parents,
Yeah.
they're adoptive parents, and you're like,
and that they don't even know that because they're
Yeah.
too dumb to figure it out yet.
Yep.
It is such a heartbreaking moment when everything goes bad for Adam Eve, and she's like, I guess I got to move back in with my parents because they were right. And I'm like, don't.
Go to your little tree hut.
Literally anything else besides move in with your parents. This is the worst thing you could do, is to move back in with your hyper abusive parents. I didn't
understand why she didn't go back to her treehouse.
Well, she felt like she wasn't being held accountable, and that her parents were there to actually hold her accountable.
Yeah.
And so
I still didn't
because
like
they
that.
were right about everything that they said about her,
Yeah.
even though they weren't, and they never were, and they never would be.
No,
and
and they were just
that's
pieces
what Rex
of shit.
comes and tells her, is like, don't be here.
Yeah.
This is some bullshit. And so you screwed up like 2 times. Oh no! Look at my record and know that doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. And so he has that great speech, and then that's kind of his turn as a character, because he is
then he gets shot in the head.
He's so obnoxious up until that point. Yeah. And then he literally says, I know this is a little out of character for me, but I have an idea. And from then on, Rex is like a great guy.
Oh, he's awesome.
You're like, high five, Rex. Let's fucking go, man. The whole thing where he's sitting in the hospital reading magazines because he likes to have the magazine in his hands and look through things. And they're all home and garden magazines. And I was so happy with Rex's development as a character.
It was like the turn of Steve in Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of a douche, and then you're like, okay,
I love this guy.
Yeah,
I love
amazing.
this guy. And hearing Jason Matsuakis play a good guy with that prick voice that he uses is so good. It's so
and
funny.
The way he acted after getting shot in the head, he's like, it was so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love it.
It's so good.
Yeah,
he's one of the best. I love seeing him in things. He has such an iconic voice.
Oh yeah.
I always want to like Big Mouth, but Big Mouth always goes too far for me. There's just moments in each season where I'm like, guys, I can't follow you to a middle school orgy. No. I can't do it, guys. I just can't do it.
And that's the sad thing, is he's in a couple things where you're like, I kind of want to go back to like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, his character in that,
him in The Good Place.
The Good Place. Yeah, just he really is great as that.
He's really funny.
Kind of weirdo.
He's really good.
Even what was it? Parks and Recreation. He played that owner of the company who was just a dick.
Yeah,
and like to hunt people and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking awesome.
Everything is shades of Rafi.
Yes, it pretty much is.
Yeah,
it pretty much is.
Rafi is just. I feel like Rafi is just Jason Matsuakis fully cranked without any knob. Like they pulled the knob off. And it's just like all the way to 11.
Now I gotta go.
You can do whatever you want.
I want to watch that whole series again.
And then it's just about tuning back from there, depending on the role. That's why when I heard he was in Percy Jackson, I was like, "Oh, that'll be interesting."
And then they kind of screwed him up in that. So and we got to talk about was it the end of last season, or beginning of the season, where Alan gets just absolutely killed?
That was episode 3
of this season.
No, 4. Episode 4.
Yes. Alan gets absolutely.
He gets fucking railroaded.
Yeah.
Like he gets run over.
Fucking like after that, I was like, oh well, there's Alan as a character.
I was like, oh, Alan's dead.
He's
that
dead.
Sucks. I really liked Alan, especially after this little soliloquy about Alan and his police officer girlfriend, and them going out to the diner. And
as soon as you saw that, though, it was very much like, oh, it's my first day on the job, and then they fucking die. You're like, oh, god damn it.
And then when Optimus Prime goes into his room and turns off everything, you're like, oh. Bye, Alan. Yeah. I guess you're gone.
You're fucking dead.
But he's not. It turns out
he becomes Super Alan.
Anything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Oh, much
And the
stronger.
closer to killing you it gets, the stronger you get. I love when he just accidentally rips his way out of the machine. He's just like, oh, my bad. Oh, I'm so sorry. That looks expensive.
I'm so happy they didn't change his personality. Because that made that scene so much funnier.
Yeah. Well, that and when he goes back to Earth to recruit Mark, and the Immortal comes to fight him, and he's like, they're doing the whole telepathy thing. And Mark is like, he's my friend. You shouldn't be fighting him. And Alan's like, well, he can't hear you. It's a one-way.
It's a one-way thing, yes. I fucking love that.
Oh, and Mark's like, did you attack him? Oh, what an excellent question.
Yeah.
Who attacked who first?
And it's like, I know he's a producer on it, but Seth Rogen's voice is perfect. It's so
he's
fucking
so
perfect.
good. Like, I know Seth Rogen, we joke a lot. He jokes a lot about how much voice work he does.
Yeah.
This might be the best voice work he's ever done.
I agree.
It's really, really good.
It's so good.
And it's just so perfect for the character. And it doesn't have like that stupid moment where it's just like we just have to put in the Seth Rogen laugh. It's just like, it's an authentic
I don't know if they
performance.
ever have the laugh.
This is what I'm saying, is that it's an authentic
performance
performance where it's not Seth Rogen being Seth Rogen as Alan.
Yeah.
It's Seth Rogen loaning his voice to Alan,
Yeah.
who is
And
clearly
it's
a
so
character
good.
that he has been compelled by for a long time. If you go back and watch Paul, where he voices Paul,
Yeah.
at one point, Paul is wearing an Invincible t-shirt.
Holy shit, I forgot that.
And so,
I haven't
like-
seen that movie in a very long time.
And so, like, this has clearly been a passion project for
Yeah.
him for a long time. I know this and Preacher were, like, the two things that he
Nice.
really was, like, really big into. Preacher didn't catch, but so far, Invincible has been really,
And I
really
do have to
good.
throw in there, they are making a sequel to Sausage Party.
I saw that. Is it a sequel or is it a series? I think it might be a series.
I don't know. Whatever it is, I still can't get over the orgy ending.
Or anything that ends in an orgy, whether it's Big Mouth or Sausage Party, it's just like it. After a while, you're just like, God. The thing that I will never get over is hearing Selma Hayek say some of the rancid things they have her saying. I just like I can't get over it every time I hear it. I'm like,
Even though I've always loved her, so hearing her say that made it feel a little good to me. All right, so it kind of ends the first half of the first season with the Viltrumites showing up to the planet, Mark and Omni-Man getting in a fight with them and getting the absolute shit kicked out of them.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the Viltrumites show up, abduct Omni-Man, kill pretty much everyone on the planet, and then just leave Mark.
They say to Mark, the Highlander says to Mark, he looks at Mark, Clancy Brown, and says, your job is your dad's old job. So you're going to go home and prepare it because we are still fucking coming, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And Mark's like, okay. And so second half, oh my God, second half of the season opens up and Mark has been there for 2 months.
Yeah.
And he finally goes home and everybody's like, dude, where were you for 2 months?
Go home alone, though.
No, he brings his brother, his little brother.
Let's say his stepmom only had like another year to live or
Yeah,
something. Like,
maybe even less.
Not even less. Yeah, I think it was just a couple months.
Yeah.
I think they have like a 6-month lifespan.
Something like that. They have a very short lifespan.
Fucking nuts.
And so it's just like, you got to take this baby. Okay, I'll take this baby. Apparently he didn't name it the entire time home. And I think if I remember correctly from the first half of the season, it was like a 2-week journey to get to this planet or something like that. So I don't know what he called it the entire way home. I do like the whole thing with Debbie having to reconcile all of this. That's a high order for anybody to take.
I am going to become the surrogate mother to my ex-husband, serial killer's alien insect love child.
Yeah.
Like, just saying that. Fuck.
Wow, that's a lot.
But I love that, it, like you're saying, it shows her maternal instincts. It's like she knows damn well that if Nolan got, or not Nolan,
if Mark
Cecil got a hold of the child,
Cecil
he was
would turn
going
it
to
into a
bastardize it.
Yeah.
And she does not want that
he
to
would
happen
turn
to
it
anyone.
into a weapon.
Exactly.
100%. I love those moments where Debbie is just standing up to Cecil and being like, I already raised one.
Yeah.
Like, what? Oh, so this one's part bug. Oh, okay. So we're going to have to figure out how he doesn't have the right enzymes to digest some of our food. Okay. So he has some food allergies. I can figure this out. And then you have the nanny come in. I think she's played by Callista Flockhart.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this is an interesting character to get a named actor for.
Before we move on, going back to Debbie, the first half of this season was showing her dealing with people knowing that Omni-Man was her husband and like pretty much being ostracized.
Her life falling
everyone.
apart.
Because didn't she? What was it? Like a
there was a support group that she tried to
for
join
superhero, like spouses of superheroes.
Spouses of superheroes, and they didn't realize that her husband was Omni-Man.
And then when the guy that he was kind of like hitting on her found out,
that was
dude, he's like, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah. Don't come back.
Yeah.
We need a safe space, and you will make it not safe.
That was heavy.
That's so heavy. Like, that's the thing about this show, is that as much as there's a lot of blood and guts, and I call shotgun on being the leader of the team, you have moments like Adam Eve going back to her abusive parents, and Debbie falling into alcoholism while she tries to build her life back together. And just the moment where she looks at the bottle of wine that her coworker gifts her for being so good at selling houses, and nobody's home, and you don't know when the last time she hung out with anybody socially was, and she just looks at the wine for a long time. And then she goes and gets the glasses. And it's just like, you have been.
But then going on to this, the thing that saves her is...
this kid.
The kid, which is Oliver, is what she ends up naming him. And you're like, okay, so her ex-husband is the thing that ruined her life, but then he indirectly is what helps save her life and bring her back by bringing this child who ends up loving her like a mother.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, I don't know how to feel about this.
This is a lot,
It was an emotional roller coaster, dude.
This goes back to...
for 8 episodes? Holy fuck.
One of the things that I kind of watched in passing while I worked on stuff this week was Castlevania. And I was struck again by some of those conversations that are just such heavy conversations.
Such a great fucking show. I gotta go back and rewatch it.
This show has a lot of the same kind of mojo of just like some real heavy conversations about what you would think of as really stupid topics, but... really well done, really well done, really well written, paced out. I love the fight with the Martian squidlings or whatever they are.
Yeah,
I thought that was really well done. I thought that fight was just really exciting to watch.
It was weird because that whole storyline kind of became a MacGuffin type thing.
It was almost a red herring.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so it doesn't really play on the main story,
especially when you have B team just getting fucking decimated. So everybody comes back on A team and they're like, wow, that got hairy, but we made it out. And they come home and it's like, oh, B team is fucked.
The only good thing about it is because B team was getting fucked up prior to it, when that whole storyline kicked in, Adam Eve had to resume her role.
She couldn't.
And she
feeling
really
bad for
saved
herself.
Their asses in that whole fucking thing.
Yeah. Well, I love that moment where you just have various forms of throw up a barrier. How many things have we seen where it's just like, okay, throw up a barrier and we're just going to try and deal with this. And we have like 3 or 4 different attempts at like, we're going to just throw up a barrier and we're just going to deal with it. And they all eventually fall apart.
Yep.
And I love the Shapesmith being like trying to redeem himself and he's being bitten. I also found out the Shapesmith played by Ben Schwartz, which is fucking great.
I didn't know that.
So Sonic the Hedgehog is getting bitten by these little things and he's like, that tickles. It doesn't tickle. Ow, ow, ow.
So great. I love that voice acting.
And so like, I love all of the pace of that. That was probably my favorite episode. It's not even a full episode because it's the end of episode 5 and the beginning of episode 6. And I just really love that whole situation of them going to space and coming home and then
the Sequids.
Yeah, the Sequids. So I did like that. We do have some stuff that gets a little distracted. We do spend a lot of time at college, which I wouldn't mind, but I'm just literally sitting there like, so your problem is you don't have time and you're failing out of college because you don't have time because you're a superhero.
Yeah.
And it takes Mark so long to get to the point of like, but why am I going to college? But why are you going to college, Mark? And because you could be paid to be a superhero.
I don't necessarily love the Amber storyline with being the girlfriend thing.
I like it because
the only thing I liked was the interaction once you realize that Adam Eve is in love with Mark, and then Amber goes to talk to her about Mark and the relationship, and you're like, that's kind of fucking awkward, knowing what we know.
Yeah. But like I like it because it explores an element of superhero relationships that we don't see a lot. Usually you have the relationship where it's either you have like a Sue Storm, Reed Richards, where they're both kind of leaders in their own right. The Incredibles, where you have like the mom and dad running a family. You have Peter and his various girlfriends who know to varying degrees depending on what comic you're reading. You have, rarely though more common now, is the girlfriend who knows but isn't a part of it. But I like this where Amber knows, can't be a part of it, is trying to help Mark, and feels extremely guilty about any time she spends with Mark because she knows that he could be out doing other things, and she is at her heart a humanist who looks at all of the pain of the world and says, my boyfriend could do stuff, so I can't be mad that he's not here, but man, I would really like to hang out with him.
And I do admit, I did like the change from her being super understanding at first to then starting to say, I need a boyfriend.
The moment he dumped her at Comic-Con, I was like, you might be the most evil person in the world.
Yeah.
You didn't dump her, like, you're still dating, but, like, you went to Comic-Con, you dragged her to Comic-Con, she's clearly not as excited about this as you are, and then you're like, oh, work called, I gotta go, can you hold my place in line? You did not just leave your girlfriend to hold your place in line at Comic-Con while I don't even care that you're saving the world. No, you can't be serious.
Yeah.
So, but I thought that dynamic, it might have been a little overplayed, but I really like that scene where Amber and Mark are sitting in their dorm room, effectively breaking up, being like, are we going to stay together? And the only thing they can say to each other is, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it's like, then I guess not. I guess that's the answer that we're going to have. And again, just really well written conversations, and the voice acting is extremely good from everybody involved.
But then you go from the emotional thing of them breaking up to him being called by Angstrom saying, guess who I have with me?
Yeah.
And he's got his mother and Oliver, and he's holding them hostage.
That I did like that episode. There were a few moments there where I got a little lost in the sauce because they make they make a point to note that time works differently in some dimensions. So it's hard to say how long Mark is gone in between each jump. And so I'm watching it with my buddy, and we get towards the end, and we're like, so has he been gone for like months? Like, how long has he been gone in between each of these jumps? Sometimes it seems like a few minutes. Sometimes it seems like weeks.
Yeah.
And like the Mad Max world that he ends up in, like, how long was he there?
That was a cool thing, going from world to world.
And I love the Agent Spider.
Yes.
I think Arachnoman is still more interesting, but Agent Spider and Dr. Squid or whatever it was.
Something like that, yeah.
I thought that was so funny. And that's the kind of thing that can come off really cloying at times, but they did an extremely good job of it. And I just like the characterization that they make. It doesn't hurt that it's Josh Keaton. That helps. But like I just like that whole scene in general.
And the fucked up scene where Angstrom beats the shit out of Debbie and breaks her arm, but then Mark's reaction when he sees it, when he comes back from one of the jumps, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill,
that was my favorite.
Oh my God.
The best moment is when Mark finally gets his hands on him.
Yeah.
And he burrows Angstrom into the ground, and Angstrom's like, what you gonna do? And he starts monologuing and beating him across dimensions. And Mark's like, fine. Fucking fine. You wanna fucking go? Fine. You can take it? Great. Glad to hear. And he goes all out. And it turns out Angstrom can't take it.
No, he can't take it. He was all talk to get
all talk, no game.
Oh my God.
And Mark's beating himself up, and me and my buddy are just sitting there like, my buddy and me had the exact same reaction on a few different things. One was when the Martians go back and they ask the Earthlings to surrender the Shapesmith for trial and judgment.
Yeah.
Me and him were like, yeah, he stays here. You do not bring him back to Earth. And they're like, what's going to happen to him? He's going to stand trial. And what's going to happen at that? He's probably going to be found guilty. And what's going to happen after that? We're going to kill him. Oh, I guess we have to. No, he deserves to face judgment for what he did.
He caused all that shit.
He caused all this shit.
Yep.
He has to sit here and deal with the repercussions of his actions. Mm-hmm. And so we both agreed on that. But then we also agreed that Mark, you can't beat yourself up for killing this guy.
No.
He egged you on. He kept on saying that he could take it. He kept on asking
your mother,
you.
Threatened to kill your brother.
He was practically begging you to kill him.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the plan, was to leave him stranded, Mark stranded in this other universe where nobody else exists.
Oh my God.
And then you get the Deus Ex Machina of all Deus Ex Machinas, which was almost too much for me. This was the one moment of the season where I was like, oh, really? That's how this is going to resolve?
I think that was out of a comic, though.
I think it was
right from the page, because I saw some screenshots of one of the comics, and I think that was actually right from...
And it makes sense. It makes sense within the world of a comic book. And basically what happens is Mark is there for like 12 hours, and then Adam Eve and Rex and a bunch of people from the distant future come back to the past to give him a gateway home. And they're like, listen, world got really, really, really bad. when you weren't there. So we spent the last 40 years figuring out a way to get you back. And so now you're going to go back. And Adam Eve is like, also,
I fucking love you.
You need to know. and so, but it was just so interesting to be like, oh, so there's going to be this whole thing where Marcus, no. Nah, well, he's stranded for like 12 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Tom Hanks in Castaway had a harder time.
That's true.
So, but it was just so funny because it was supposed to be so dramatic. And then the bunch of Guardians show up from the future. And they're like, hey, here's the door home. Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess that's resolved.
We got to move this along.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to say, this season ended. I don't know if I've ever had an ending to a season where I will literally kill somebody to see season 3 by you having Alan and Omni-Man in a prison together, deciding to team up to take on the Viltrumites. I was like, I want to see this! And then it ended. I was like, no, fuckers!
Yeah.
I was so, like, I was ready to break the walls down.
I know.
To see those two team up against them.
I know. I do wish that there was some time spent less on other things.
Yes, more on that.
Because, like, I don't mind the Donald storyline. But
yeah, it was okay.
It was okay. It was interesting. The fact that the most interesting thing about it is that the voice actor for Donald also plays Mickey Mouse in everything right now.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
And the Donald storyline was kind of like...
Well, the Donald storyline turned into the Rick storyline, which turned into the William storyline.
But it was very... What's that director who's big into body...
Oh, Cronenberg.
It was very Cronenberg, because when you really think about what was done to this dude, you're like... This is really fucked up.
Yeah. So it was fine.
It was okay.
It went on a little long. After watching it a second time, I was like, this is fine. But given some of the emotional beats that we have beyond that are more
like
succinct and fulfilling, this felt kind of like a distraction. Yeah. This kind of felt like, and also in the rest of the world, things are also happening to the just pure humies out there who don't have superpowers or superpowered relations. And it's like, okay, no, that's cool. I can't say that I really care, but it's cool. It's cool that it's here.
But to know that the monster that did all these experiments on
for the government
is working for
He's
Cecil
getting a
and the
paycheck.
government.
He's getting a paycheck, or at least home and board.
Yeah.
Like he has something.
Like that was really fucked up. Like, God damn it, this dude.
Mark, just ask for a fucking salary.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna tell you. You can have it as much as you want. Just ask for a fucking salary.
Yeah.
Even if that salary just comes in the form of you don't have to deal with bills. So like when he's talking about like I could get another job after school. No, you dumbass. Ask the government to pay you money to be a superhero.
Yeah. You're not like Spider-Man, who no one knows who you are and it's pure anonymity.
Oh, Lord knows you fly around without your mask on as much as fucking Tom Holland.
That's true too.
I love the moment when the Viltrumite woman comes and breaks up the date, and Amber's like, "How'd she find us?" And I'm like, I don't know. Could have been the flying around for 3 hours without any kind of anonymity through cities, and I don't know. Might have been that. Could have been that. Probably in a database, but could have been that.
I do love how his name is Invincible, but goddamn, he gets his ass kicked so goddamn.
All the time.
Because that chick kicks the shit out of him.
Hey, listen, Invincible just means that you don't break. It doesn't mean that you don't bend.
Oh, he bends pretty fucking hard, dude.
He bends like the Buffalo Bills defense.
But holy crap, that was a cool fight scene, but she beat the shit out of him.
Well, I just love when he's losing to the kaiju. And she's like, all right, I'm done. I'm done with this shit. You want a proof of concept? Here's a proof of concept for you.
Yeah. And it's there's a lot I love about the show, and I hope this is kind of in the realm of the Legend of Vox Machina, where it's like, okay, it's a streaming service, animated show, so you never truly know how it does ratings wise.
Yeah.
They tell you viewership things. I don't fucking know how half that thing means. I hope it's successful enough that they're going to continue these series, because it's series like this, because once again, this is what I wanted from The Boys before The Boys went way too fucking far. And it's like, this is what I want to watch now. I know The Boys season 4 is coming out in like a week. I'm gonna watch it just because I'm an idiot. And even though I didn't love how that last season started, I loved how it ended. There's going to do something that's going to make me regret watching it. I don't regret watching this. Like, this is fantastic. This is the animation. Like, this and Vox Machina I gotta give Amazon a lot of credit because it's like, man, you're really doing a great job.
Yeah.
With these more adult-themed animated shows, they're perfect.
A-Train was another thing that I saw, and I was like, I had a speedster named A-Train.
Oh yeah.
And you gave him the most boring costume. My guy had like flashing on his armor, so it looked like a subway car. Or you can just have whatever this is. This sucks. You might as well start putting like brand logos everywhere for how
Bezos
good
is in
it
your
is.
brain, buddy. He's in your brain. He's reading
This
every one of your
sucks.
thoughts.
So, but I agree. I do like this a lot. I'm glad that I did finally start watching Invincible because for a long time there I didn't want to watch it for that specific reason. I didn't want to have a moment where I see the detective demon and I'm like, oh, that's so close to an idea I had. Oh, that sucks. I'll weather those because the show is still very good. I give it an A.
Oh, I definitely give it an A. And it's like, the thing I love about it is the animation's solid. Not the greatest animation I've ever seen. It's solid.
They have that joke about how the animation is done. They take you inside the sausage factory when he goes to the con and he's talking to the creator of the other comic that he likes, and they go over like the dynamics of trying to do animated TV shows and how it takes so long.
What was the name? What's the name of it? It's the dog, right?
Seance Dog.
Seance Dog, that's right. But this is some of the best voice acting.
Oh, I love the voice acting.
It's so good.
It's so good, top to bottom.
Yeah.
Whether it's a known voice like a Stephen Yeun or
J.K. Simmons is Omni-Man.
Sandra Oh, or lesser known actors like Jillian Jacobs as Adam Eve is really good.
Oh, she's fantastic.
She's really, really good. And then you have Kari Payton as Black Samson, among many others. He is he's in almost every DC thing you've ever watched. He's great. He's always great. Just the entire cast is so good and so believable. You have some classics. You have Grey Griffin, who you don't know, but if you hear her voice. And then you have Andrew Rannells. It's like some of these more minor characters. So like it really runs the gamut. You have Ross McCord, who does the non-Jason Matsuzakis voice for Rudy. And he was also Charles Xavier. And
yeah?
I think he may have also been Magneto.
God, I forgot. Michael Dorn, a.k.a. Worf, is Throck the Battle Beast.
Yes.
Slash is voiced by Jamon Hewson. And Titan is voiced by Mahershala Ali. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't know how they had the money to pay some of these folks.
They have a really good voice cast and a very good voice director who does an excellent job. Angstrom Levy was Sterling K. Brown. But then you also have Mark Hamill as the guy that makes costumes.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it's just like, I really like...
How did I not know that the principal of Reginald Vell Johnson High School
is
Reginald
Vell
Vell Johnson?
Yeah.
That's fucking
That
incredible.
was a moment where I was like, I don't know if this is a meta thing or if this is a joke. But was when he becomes the dean of the college he's at after being the principal of the high school he was
University.
at. I was like, so is this like a joke or is this Cecil putting him here? Or does he work for Cecil?
That could be.
Because I'm confused about what's happening.
Yeah, it's top to bottom. It's great. And I didn't even realize also Alana, the Green Ghost, I'm going to mispronounce her name, Sonequa Martin Green, was the lead in Discovery. She was from... The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah,
She's
yeah.
the lead in Star Trek Discovery. She's great, man.
Yeah.
It's loaded.
You have Rob Delaney as New Alzat, who was the friendly guy in Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
Pete. John Hamm is in here somewhere. Just fucking so many people.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
Like,
But I love it. So that was Invincible Season 2. Can't wait for Season 3. Really much looking forward to it. And I think that's it for the day, man.
Yeah,
I think that's 140 in the books.
Yeah.
So, folks, once again, this is episode 140 of NerdPod Generations. If you like what you hear, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find us at youtube.com. If you do go looking for our show, which I hope you will, make sure you subscribe to either the podcast or YouTube or both. You can find us at nerdpodgen, nerdpodgen.com. And once again, there are multiple links to everything about us. You get a little rundown of who we are, what we do. Al, who did our music?
Our music is done by Brendan Williams and James Connolly, and our art is done by Kortney Howell.
I love that artwork.
I'm Alfred Judson.
And I'm Steve Taylor.
And until next week, friends and enemies, we'll be out here nerding it up
Can't wait.
like some douchebags.
Yeah, we're douchebags!